This is the second of 3 videos on the verse text for GCSE Latin. In the first video, we saw Priam, the king of Troy, getting brutally killed by Achilles' son Pyrrhus. In this next scene, Aeneas escapes from the burning city with his family. He knows that he's destined to be the founder of a new city, a city which will, in years to come, become Rome. Again, you have a summary of the second section on this slide and a list of the proper names which come up in it. So this is a part of the video you can return to later for reference. This section begins with the words dixerat ille, he had spoken. Now the person who had just spoken is Anchises, Aeneas' father. Now Anchises had not wanted to come out of Troy. He thought that he was too old and too frail, and he would only slow Aeneas and his family down. But he was persuaded by a sign from the gods and finally agreed. So that's what's happened just before this section. Now Virgil describes the fire which engulfs the city. It's getting louder. Clarior ignis auditur. The fire is being heard more clearly, more loudly. And also it's rolled forward. Whirlwind means roll, which is quite a descriptive word, by the aistus, and aistus means tide or the surge of the sea, like rolling waves. This is clearly a metaphor which describes the fire approaching and crashing down upon the city. Now we go into direct speech. Aeneas, who's telling the tale, quotes his own words to his dear father, care pater. Come then, dear father, he says. He tells him to lean on his neck. In fact, Aeneas is going to carry him on his shoulders. Aeneas emphasises their togetherness with 4 words. Unum, one, commune, shared or common. Una, another word for one. So we have polyptoton there, when you have the same word but with a different ending. And the 4th word is ambobus, which means for us both. So with these 4 words, Aeneas says very emphatically that we both will face the same danger. He then turns to the other members of his family, first of all Iulus, Parvus Iulus, little Iulus, who will come as his companion, commes, and that's a word that he refers to again later. And the 3rd member of the family group is his wife. And his wife is going to follow behind, far behind, and that word longe is very important. Creusa, later, is going to get so far behind that she gets lost. Aeneas is still quoting his own words. Now he is talking to his slaves, his family, who are the slaves of the household, and he tells them to pay attention. He points out a landmark which they will look out for on their way out of the city, Urbe Egressis. And this landmark is a place where they're going to meet if they get separated. They have to look out for 3 things: a tomb, an old temple of Ceres, and an ancient cypress tree. The temple has been neglected, deserti. In fact, the way Virgil tells it is he says it's a temple of the neglected Ceres, suggesting that it's Ceres who's been neglected. Now Ceres is the goddess of corn and crops. Perhaps there is a suggestion here that the harvest has suffered in wartime. Note that the 3 points in this chosen meeting place are each to do with the past. There is a tomb, which is for the dead, tumulus. Then there is the temple, but it is an old temple, vetustum, and Ceres has been deserted. Another suggestion that the temple is old and neglected. The cypress tree is antiqua, which means ancient. And it was worshipped long ago by their ancestors for many years. And the word patrum, by their ancestors, again suggests to you that this tree is an old one. So at this meeting point where they gather, there are a lot of references to the past, and perhaps that's significant because this is a place where Aeneas intends that they leave their past behind and start on their new journey. This is the point where they're going to gather, and we're going to come together, he says, veniemus in unam, into one place. Then Aeneas speaks to his father again. He uses the word genitor. Genitor is slightly different to the word pater. Although they both mean father, genitor technically means begetter. So it's a word which reminds us that Aeneas and Anchises are part of the same family tree. He instructs his father to take kappa, the sacred objects, and the penates in his hand, the penates patrios, who are the household gods of their fatherland. What his father has to carry then are small statues which represented the spirits which protected the family. Aeneas can't carry them himself because he's been involved in battle, kaide recenti, recent slaughter, and it would therefore be nefas, which means a sin or sinful, for him to touch them. He can't touch them until he has purified himself by washing in the flumine vivo, the living or running river water. The next lines describe in detail how the family gather together for their journey. Aeneas puts a lion's skin, pelle leonis, on his shoulders. A lion is a symbol of courage. He bends down to take on his burden, his onery, which is how he describes his father. Little Iulus, Parvus Iulus, we now get for the second time in the text, he grabs Aeneas's right hand and he trots along beside him. There's a rather nice expression, non passibus aequis, with uneven steps. There's a lot of detail here, which helps us to visualise this perfectly. The next three words make a short phrase, pone subit conjunx, behind goes my wife. Virgil emphasises the word pone, behind, by putting it first word in the sentence. Just as before, he'd told us that she'd follow him longe, from afar. Again, he tells us here that Creusa is distanced from them on their journey. It's dark. They go through opaca locorum, through the darkness, and Aeneas is frightened. Now, Virgil builds a sense of suspense here because he starts with Aeneas saying that he hadn't been frightened before, not even battle. I, who up till now had not been frightened by any weapons, tela, nor by the hostile battle line of the Greeks gathered together. I hadn't been frightened in the past, he says, but now he is frightened. And he's frightened by all the breezes and every sound. Notice the word order here. We have the words omnes or omnis, that's polyptoton, on the outside. But in between these two words are aurae, the breezes, and sonus, sound. These are the words which frighten him. So we have an A, B, B, A structure, which is an example of chiasmus. For good measure, there are two words, not just one, but two in this line, which both have a similar meaning, and they both suggest that he's frightened. There's terrent here, which means they terrify me. Excitat, the sound alarms me. So there's a lot in that line, it's quite a rich line, which draws the reader's attention, and we share his fear. The next word is also important, suspensum, which means on edge or in suspense. Aeneas is not on edge for himself, but for the other people who he has responsibility for. So he's on edge for his companion and the committee, and that is Iulus, and he is on edge for his onery, his burden, who is his father Ascanius. It's a shame he's not on edge for his wife. She's the one who's really in danger, but he doesn't know that at this point. And now the tension mounts. Aeneas, Anchises and Iulus are getting near to the portis, the gates, and they're almost out of the city. They've almost completed their journey. Virgil uses the word eiwasise there for completed, which literally means that they have almost escaped it. They've almost got away. But the next word, subito, which means suddenly, marks a change, and this tells us that something's going to happen. They hear the sound of approaching feet. Line 732 is a fast-paced line. It's a dactylic line. And that means that it's the rhythm of the words is fast and it's repetitive, sounding like the sound of running feet, or perhaps the horses' hooves of the Greeks as they are running after the escaping Trojans. If I scan the line showing the long and the short syllables, it would look like this. Visus adesse pedum sonitus genitor quepe umbram. Or if I say it, visus adesse pedum sonitus genitor quepe umbram. You don't need to know those scansion markings, but it would be helpful to know that it's a fast-paced dactylic rhythm. Now Anchises, peering out through the darkness, cries out, exclamat. 3 words in a row, each with 2 syllables. Nate, fuge, nate. These punchy words have a sense of urgency about them. Notice that Anchises twice calls on his son using the word nate. Now, nate is a well-chosen word. It literally means born, although we're going to translate it as son. But by using this word born rather than, for example, Peleus, it's one of those words which emphasises the family tree, emphasising the family tie between Anchises and Aeneas. Anchises sees 2 things through the darkness, and they're similar things. He sees, first of all, shining or glowing shields, and he sees glittering or flashing bronzes. Notice the chiasmus in the structure here, where we have the words which mean the participles, which mean glowing and glittering on the outsides, and we have the words which mean shields and bronzes, words which refer to the armour which the Greeks are carrying, on the insides. A rather neat structure there. Also notice the metaphorical use of glowing. Literally, ardentes means burning. The shields aren't really on fire, of course, but they look fiery and burning through the darkness when Anchises sees them. Now we reach the part of the story where Creusa gets lost. Aeneas puts the blame on some unfriendly spirit, nescio quod male amicum numen, which snatched eripuit his confused mind. He explains that while he was going through the less familiar streets, the Avia, Creusa stopped, substitit. Note the word heu, which means alas, and how this word breaks the sentence up, and it marks the tragic moment. And after the word alas, the next word is misero, unhappy, further emphasising the tragedy. Aeneas suggests 3 reasons why Creusa stopped. One is that she was snatched by a cruel fate, an unhappy fate. Second, she wandered off or got lost, erawitne. Third, she collapsed, lapsa, receded, and sat down. Now the next word, incertum, means it's uncertain. He doesn't know why it was that she stopped following him. But he knows one thing: he never saw her again.